Okay, I'm gonna call to order the Town of Old Saybrook Zoning Commission meeting for Monday, March 30th,
Mute
twenty
thing is
twenty-six,
over there, yeah.
PM, Town Hall, first floor conference room at 302 Main Street, Old Saybrook. If we'd all stand and do the pledge of allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call. Thank you. Myself, Mark Caldarella, Chair, Derek Kennedy, Vice Chair, John Henry, Secretary, regular commission members Laura Gray and Robin Kelly, and alternate members Brenda Dyson and Mike Kelly, and Casey's not on mine. Okay. No. We have our recording clerk Joanne Galley and our CEO Chris Costa. Online we have
Applicants
applicants only,
no attendance.
right? And in the audience, we have 2, 4, 6 people. So, number 4, we'll continue to public hearings. A, water view landscaping application for modification of special exception permit for the outdoor storage of landscape materials, 5 Jade Court, Assessors Map 42, Lot 9-2, Gateway B Business B4 District. The applicant is 5 Jade Court LLC. The agent is Edward M. Trisella. And the action is a closed public hearing by 4/6/2026 or no later than 4/19/2026. Attorney Casella, welcome.
Hi, good evening. Ed Casella representing Saybrook Court LLC. Following up on the meeting we had last couple weeks ago regarding the purchase of additional land behind the building and updating the approval to have additional room for storage behind the building. There was a couple of things that you guys asked to come back with more specific information on. The first was the status of 3 Jade Court, which is the property next door, and 3 Jade was acquired by the owner. So he is getting that property surveyed and will be coming in for an updated zoning application to have some of, potentially some of the excess that needed on that property. Once the work on this property gets finished. As you recall, there's going to be kind of an expanded rear area with concrete blocks and storage in the back. So we don't know the exact scope of what's needed, but he's gonna get it surveyed. And then we'll be coming in, I think either way, frankly, to have some additional overflow beyond that property. And, we kind of talked about buffering and things like that, which will be more available on that property to screen from Route 1. So that's kind of the report on 3 Jade. And on 5 Jade, we provided an updated statement of use, which provided some of the information that you were looking for in terms of number of employees. Typically, he has between 10 and 12 full-time employees year round. And then in the summer, hires an additional, I don't remember the number.
8 to 10.
8 to 10 seasonal employees. That's, what this operation at its fullest extent looks like. It's not always there. It's a very tough deal to staff and keep people, and there's a lot of turnover. Many of the employees carpool to work, so it's not like everybody drives their own car. Some take scooters. There's a varied levels of transportation to get to the property. We also provided a list of some of the equipment. If you drove by the site, you can see that there's all the dumpsters right now are on 3 Jade Court. But they have skid steers, excavators, trailers, the dump truck, and then obviously miscellaneous mowers, weed whackers, lawn equipment, things like that. So again, I think, this is a tight site, but but purchasing the property in the rear, potentially expanding over to 3 is gonna provide some options. To make this site the best it can be.
But can you think about hours of operation?
Yeah, so hours are tricky, because the primary hours of operation are 7 AM to 5 PM. But, you know, there are times during the season when the crews are coming in after that, during the off season and snow plowing, when people are on the site after those primary hours. So, 7 AM to 5 PM are their hours, when, you know, the people come in kind of for the normal shifts. But that can be, you know, that can vary depending on the circumstances.
Fair to put something in here?
Sure, I could add that in, as long as you understand there's going to be a caveat, because there could be operations there at 10 o'clock on a Saturday night when there's a storm ending or something like that.
Yeah, that's fine.
Did you have something else to?
I don't.
You don't, that's it?
Yeah.
Commissioners, questions? So my understanding that potentially in the future, 3J court could potentially maybe not be combined, but an adjunct to the 5J court
Part of it can be used for overflow.
for overflow. The overflow that's there now, obviously, would have to be
Needs to be permitted.
permitted on the existing site,
Yes,
okay? And that's where the challenge, I believe, has been.
Yes.
Up to this point, you have the additional space that you came up with in the back of the building. To accommodate that, but in recent, visits that I made in the last few days. Multiple cars parked in the court, which is a town property. Equipment parked in 3J court. And truck and trailer parked on the circle. So all of that has to be incorporated into the 5J court with this application.
yes.
Is that possible?
It's a stretch. I mean, obviously they're beginning their season, so things are gonna spread out because a lot of the things go off-site
Sure.
during their projects. So there's less of a need for, you know, the dumpsters to be on the property, for example, because they're gonna be on work sites now that the season's starting. So you know, what we're hoping for is for 5J to be approved with this new land, because that's a requirement. And then, once they do that, they'll be able to come in with 3, you know, probably at a minimum to put some dumpsters into parks and cars. We don't know that for sure until we can figure out exactly what's gonna happen in the back of the building. But I think we would ask for a little bit of a stepped approach here.
Was there any consideration given to a withdrawal of the application to do a combined on 3 and 5? So that everything could be incorporated?
No, because I think that, you know, we prefer them to be separate approvals, so.
I understand. Okay, I just realistically. You're still gonna have overflow at the court from what.
Some, but again, it's hard to gauge exactly how much until the work in the back is done. That's the problem.
Now, there's room in the back to store just materials
And vehicles.
and vehicles, and
Yeah.
vehicles would be designated as what? Potentially,
I think,
the work vehicles?
and some employee park and some additional parking. On 5J,
So do they rent dumpsters? Is that the?
I think they use them as part of their, I don't believe they're rented, I think they just use them as part of their operations.
So their dumpsters are owned probably by Waterview,
Correct.
used for their own projects, but don't lease out the dumpsters for any type of trash.
That's my understanding, yeah.
How far back are they planning to take down the trees and how visible will it be to the highway?
I don't think any further trees can be removed. Let me look at the plan.
Is this site plan still in effect?
Yes, that's the plan. And I don't think it'll be visible from the highway. There's a dense wetland system behind the property.
That's,
I don't believe any additional trees are going to be removed. I know part of the wetlands application was making sure that the trees are preserved and getting the fill removed from around them.
On the print that we have, there's no indication of additional parking in the back.
It's not formal, correct?
So the 8 spots in the front is where the parking has to take place for employees,
Yeah,
visitors.
yeah,
Correct?
they don't get too many visitors, so,
Okay. But there's also no handicap parking on this plan.
I don't know that there was ever handicap parking on this property, so,
Let's see here.
Well, it says it includes one, but which one?
there's a spot. Shaded lines.
oh, okay, yeah, it's probably, I guess it's the one that's to the left of the door. That's what the shaded lines are for.
So the shaded line would be a
Could be a combination.
combination of markings, it's not necessarily a parking space.
No, but I think the shaded lines delineate where somebody can open a door and have it handicap accessible spot.
But it would have to be, labeled as such
Yeah, we could.
and marked on the pavement. And the other requirements acceptable to ADA.
Yeah, and that certainly could be, the plan could be revised to reflect those.
With the sign, is there a problem with the sign in the front?
Sign in the front should, well, there's two signs, there's one on 5J Court. That was approved,
The one in front of the building was approved, I believe.
and then there's one that's on Jade Court at the corner of Route 1 and Jade Court. And again, I don't know, I didn't hear back from the surveyor to verify whether that's on Jade Court, the town property, or the state property, or the neighbor properties. I don't know, Chris, if you got any more information about that.
It looks to me like it's on the mobile property
Is it?
from the mobile site plan, but that's about.
Yeah, and obviously that sign was built when Jade Court was built. So. We're not proposing any new signage there. At this point.
Hypothetically, that, the parking in the front, obviously handicap, no parking on Jade Court. An enhancement that if it was so noted in the future that there was a repetitive, violation, we would have to go to a remediation of some sort for that, if there was a decision on the applicant's part not to include 3J Court as part of that. So we'd have to go to enforcement if it was not rectified in a reasonable manner.
I understand, and he understands, and we're coming in with 3J. Again, the point of this is to get the work done in the back. For the wetlands approval.
But you understand that as we look at the whole thing and we see the numerous vehicles and where they're located, there's a challenge on the property.
Yes, I do.
Okay, the business is somewhat overgrown the location, which is the challenge, which is good.
And he's also acquired 2 other pieces of property to make it better. And this, we're trying to get the first piece of property incorporated here.
Commissioners have any other questions? No?
Just a question from, I recognize that five is all the way in the back and there's a street, J Court from, Route 1. And I also recognize that the property in the front is the gas station and the other one's the carts and cars. So I recognize that there are properties technically in front and there's a street down to 5 J Court. My point with the preface is, while still driving down Route 1, you look back and it opens up. And I was wondering if there's, as the property expands, especially with the cars and, some of the stuff that's happening in the front, the use of land on what is probably 3 Jade Court for storing live trees. Is there anything that could be done in terms of like sightline beautification to make sure that when you are driving, I recognize you're driving down Route 1 and it's in the back. I understand all that. When you are driving down, the gas station itself is basically just an open parcel. Can there be something done with regards to sightline beautification from Route 1? So when you look back, you're not looking at dumpsters and bunch of cars and all that stuff. That's just a
I
question.
think when 3 J Court comes in, there's going to be a landscape strip along that boundary line between 3 and the gas station.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, that need is recognized in part of the plan.
What do we have as referrals?
We kept it pretty minimal. We have our wetlands permit. So we've heard from everybody. We heard from the building official.
Yep.
Our fire marshal. And then health district. The one question is, when do you think you can get an application in for 3? So we're not waiting 2 years.
Survey,
So did we set a time frame?
3 months.
3 months?
For July 1st.
July 1st.
Reasonable. Okay, so that's, I think we did last, meeting, but it's a continued public hearing. If there's anybody in the audience or online wishing to speak in favor of or against, please identify yourself with your name. Anybody online,
No.
raise their hand.
There's nobody on.
Anybody in the audience? No? All right, commissioners, then, make a motion to close public hearing for Waterview landscaping application for modification of special exception permit for the outdoor storage of landscape materials at 5 Jade Court, Assessors Map 42, Lot 9-2, Gateway B4 District.
So moved.
Seconded by Laura Gregg. Is there any further discussion? I'm hearing any. All those in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstained, passes 5-0. Do commissioners feel that we have enough information to be able to deliberate this evening on this application? Yes? Okay. Does anyone wish to make a motion at this point?
Move to approve the Waterview landscaping application for modification for special exception permit for this outdoor storage of landscape materials.
At 5G Court.
5J Court, Assessors Map 42, Lot 9, Business B4 District.
Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Laura Gregg. Is there any further discussion?
You want to include the handicap?
I
Oh,
don't think it conditions. I
It-
think
it's- oh,
things
yeah.
you talked about.
Yeah, thank you.
Conclude the hours of operation too.
So conditions of approval in addition to the motion would be,
I'll amend my motion.
okay, you wanna,
So what I have was amend the statement of use to have the hours of operation and the caveat that there will be times it'll be extended, as Attorney Casella described. The handicap parking space will be marked on the pavement and have a sign to meet current ADA standards. The applicant will refrain from parking on Jade Court. Once this project is complete and they determine what they can store in the back, the applicant will return for a plan for 3 and 5 J Court to show the combined operations by July. And that's what you.
Did you miss anything else?
Took the words right out of my mouth.
That's what I'm here for.
Okay, so the motion has been made with
And-
conditions, seconded by Laura Gray. Is there any further discussions? Not hearing any, we'll move to a vote. All those in favor, signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Oppose, abstain, passes 5-0-0. Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, moving on to new business, we have a Fenwick ice cream discussion, zoning compliance and request for 855 Boston Post Road, assessors map 36, lot 2, business B2 district, pedestrian node, property owner, KAM LLC, agent Rick Fenwick, business owner. Mr. Fenwick, welcome. You have to unmute yourself, please.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can.
Okay, great. So I'll have you know it's my first Zoom call.
Congratulations.
Doing well so far.
So do you have, you want us to jump in on what our concerns are, or do you have something?
Yeah, of
that you
course.
present to us first before we do that?
Yeah, no, go ahead, and then I'll address them as you bring up your concerns.
Okay. First item is the temporary banner facing the street. It's been almost a year, I believe. It's coming up on a year. When will the permanent sign be installed?
Yeah. Within the next few months, Mark. So, and why I can tell you it's taken the time it's taken is that, as we all know, that building sat for many years, and I've been a general contractor for over 40 years, and the building cost me more than double of what I anticipated it to be. And I was just short on money, and I didn't think it was an issue, but now I see that it is. But in fact, I was at computer science today, talking with Andrew about getting moving forward to get it done. So if the main reason behind it was a money issue.
Understood, but for this commission, that's not something that applies to an applicant.
Yeah.
That's not part of our decision process.
Okay.
So we really need to have that completed.
Yep.
I think you're indicating, and commissioners chime in at any point here, a few months. We'd like to have a more definite timeframe than that.
Yeah.
Reasonable to me would seem to be, or to the commission, and again, they'll speak on their own behalf of, if we could set a target date of June 1st.
Yeah.
That to happen, is that a reasonable expectation?
I believe it is, and if it's not, I'll talk to Andrew, but I can't see why he can't have it done by that time.
Okay, and if it comes down to the point where you may not meet that deadline, would you at least advise the CEO?
Yeah,
The
absolutely.
status, please. Okay, so June 1st, 2026. Commissioners, everyone have anything to say on that subject that wishes to? No? Okay.
That sounds fine.
Okay. Other concern was on the side of the building.
Mhm.
When you're looking from the street, the right side, there's an awning and it has additional call outs to product, et cetera. That is not permitted. Correct, right?
Right.
So do you have a plan to remove that at this present time?
Yeah, I mean, I can remove it, and I guess
Not the awning, but the wording.
right. I was approved for 40 square foot of signage on the other side of the building. So what would I have to do? Reapply to keep that what I have on the awning now? I mean, so what I can show you, so it would be easy. I don't know if you can see this or not. Um, and I never did that. And I would say what's on the awning is less of an impact than what this would be.
If I'm not mistaken, and Chris, correct me if I'm wrong, is that it's not allowed versus being permitted.
So you're permitted to have a wall sign, not an awning sign that retracts from the building. So since it's
Okay.
not on a wall,
Yeah, I didn't realize that. I thought it was just signage in general. Okay, so I mean, I can take it off.
So you will remove that?
Yep.
What's a reasonable time expectation for that removal?
I'll do it this week. I'm
Okay,
there
so-
working. I'm there working now, getting ready to open, so it's not an issue to take it down.
So we can say reasonably by April 15th?
Yep. Tax day.
Yeah, are we lucky? You also had additional A-frame and other signs on the property that are not permitted. Will you be removing those as well?
Well, there isn't any. I mean, when I had an A-frame out to take for an example, for, Mother's Day, we decided to treat moms, and we did a lobster roll for at our cost of $20 for a lobster roll with French fries and coleslaw. So I put a sign out for that. It was there for about a week and a half, and then it was taken down. And then I did the same thing for Father's Day as well. It was my way of treating moms for Mother's Day, and because I didn't have it out there year round or anything like that, I didn't see where there was an offense for it. But um,
Understand the need to promote your business and to attract customers, particularly over a weekend such as Mother's Day or Father's Day. But a consistent approach based on numerous opportunities then becomes a violation of the process because there's one out there all the time, correct?
A-frame signs are
Not allowed.
expressly prohibited, and there's no provision for temporary ground or other signs. It's either a window sign that meets the internal window regulations or some other form of advertising like Facebook or
Right.
promotion.
Do you understand that?
yeah, I get it loud and clear, Mark.
Okay. Another concern of ours was that there was supposed to be concrete blocks and or bollards placed in front of.
Yeah, they're
the-
there. They're there, and Chris had saw them.
I think what we saw are some form of a temporary planter and not a structure that would impede the ability of a errant vehicle to crash into the sitting area.
Yeah, I mean, I agreed to large flower boxes, or we talked about ballards, but 4-inch ballards, I don't know what you all know about them, but they snap very easily. So I have there's a curve, then I have the curve stoppers, and I have the planters that are filled with 3/4 inch crushed stone for weight.
I do not believe that those would stop an errant vehicle from crashing into the sitting area. So, what you?
I mean, I did it intending to have it that way. Like if I was sitting out there, I would want to be run over too. But every one of those boxes are filled with 3/4 inch stone. You can't even pick them up. and it has the curving on the property, and then I have the concrete tire stoppers. So there's really three means of stopping a vehicle before it goes through.
Commissioners, comments, questions on this subject?
They're all
Brenda?
low. So everything he's describing are all low. So I think the point of a bollard is it's upright and it has more of an opportunity to stop a vehicle as opposed to go over it.
Well, bollard is designed specifically to stop
Right,
a vehicle.
right.
While the planters that you have there with the crushed stone is, I guess, a good first step, it still doesn't meet the parameters of what the approved, application
Yeah.
that was granted.
Well, I think if you read the application, Mark, I said I would put planters there
Let's
or
stick-
ballards. There was an opportunity for both.
But what I'm saying is the planter is not a concrete structure that is approved to stop an errant vehicle.
Okay.
That's the concern.
Okay. But I mean, isn't it? I thought I had in the application that I was going to put planters there. So-
The special exception permit for minor modification that, following the hearing of April 21st, 2025, states the special exception permit minor modification contains the following conditions: no outdoor music or speakers, bollards or heavy planters need to be set in place for protection of patrons at picnic tables. So it was stated in the approved application.
Yeah. So we're saying that it's not okay. You want something else.
We would like to see either the mafia style concrete blocks or bollards,
Okay.
okay?
So it does say have heavy planters for work. What you just.
It is, the planter is a low,
Yeah.
profile, okay? That's,
I know it's just not spelled out in this application, it was approved.
yeah, well,
Yeah, I mean, it was approved, and now we're saying it's not. So it is what it is.
interpretation from the commissioners, please speak up on this.
I don't know how much I know the bollards have specific definition, engineering type definitions, so I don't know what you get into the planter, what's a good planter, what's acceptable, I don't know. I don't know what the line is there. I know what he's saying, and I don't know how much you gotta have to be real safe. And if how much responsibility is ours and how much is his. You know, if something actually happened, I don't know where his insurance comes in and how much our liability would be. I don't know. It's pretty vague.
These are wooden planters that if a car hits a wooden planter, it'll break apart and the stones will come out. So I'm not sure how much it'll stop
You
anything.
said concrete planters. These are wood.
These.
Are the planters that you have, Rich, wood or?
Yeah, they're wood structure. They're
Wood
wood
structure.
structure filled with stone.
So to your point,
Yeah, that bothers me.
that may not hold up to.
Structure and then it breaks apart and the stone goes out, it's not gonna stop anything.
Those concrete.
Yep.
I mean, my challenge is that if the tire stops are for when you're going very slow, but if you're going very fast,
It's
they're
not-
ramps.
Right, right,
And so you need something that's gonna stop a car who's purposely trying to go into something.
right.
Yeah. And listen, I don't want to debate it, but a ballard will snap. In fact, the more it's secured to the ground, the easier it will snap. But anyway, so we have to do something about it because to satisfy you. I'm not here to debate it. It's just,
Trying to be
we
clear.
agreed to flower boxes, and now we're saying that we can't, or they're not big enough or tall enough. So if that's what it's going to take to satisfy the commission, then I'll have to do what I have to do.
Did he submit drawings at all, or?
I don't think so.
Not of the
No,
bollards.
Not of the bollards.
No.
So the concern was, and I think after COVID, there was more of a focus. We had to force people to put these blocks and people complained, but then people actually were outdoor dining and somebody hits the accelerator by accident and the whole block is shifting across the parking lot. So I think that was the purpose of this regulation is to try to have some things, so if it falls apart, it's not really, I mean, it's gonna maybe slow something down, but it's not necessarily gonna stop a vehicle. Could you put blocks behind the planter?
Yeah, you could do that as well.
What type of blocks, huh? I mean, the
Like
mafia
Mafia
style?
style
I mean,
blocks?
yeah, you could do that. You could put them behind the planters, leaving the planters in place. And putting a mafia style block behind it would accomplish what the commission is looking for and also allow you to beautify your property.
Okay.
Do you need some time to review that and see and then come back to us?
Well, I mean, I have to. I've never bought any of the mafia blocks, so I have to go out and find a resource to get them, which I don't think it'd be that hard, and just and get it done. I don't know what else to say. I mean, do I want to put them there? No, they're ugly.
Well, the comment of putting them behind the planters that you currently have there would help with the appearance of being more beautiful than a straight mafia block.
Hmm.
How about if you're able to review that and come back to the land use department with an update in about 3 weeks
Yeah,
with what you feel you can do or can't do, and we
yeah.
can
I
that
just
point.
don't. Yeah, Mark. I just don't know whether I'd rather do that or the Ballards. But in my opinion, Ballards are a waste of money. If you saw how easy they snap, a 4-inch ballast, there's really not the protection you think you have.
Well, the ballards that we have in existence here in the town of Old Saybrook have engineering spec sheets behind them.
Okay. Well,
That's
maybe that's something I could be taught.
well.
I,
How about we leave it this way in that and come back to us in about say
Maybe just send me an email.
Right.
As to how you wanna proceed after you look into it.
right.
And then I can get that to the commission and we can go from there.
yeah, that sounds
Okay.
good. Yeah,
Okay. Thank you.
you're welcome.
Um, you have a vent trailer stored on the property, correct?
Hmm.
And I believe you proposed to paint it and use it for off-site events?
Yes, it's a piece of equipment the same as my ice cream truck is.
And currently it's on the left side of the building backed up.
Yeah.
As far as you can go a little bit over the pavement, but that obstructs at least 2 parking spaces, I believe,
No,
from where
one,
it's located.
because it's in a triangle.
Okay,
But I had pointed out to Chris in front of the store, I guess it might have been used as a loading dock at one point, which I don't need to have a loading dock. I have 3 additional spaces in front of the building that I can have striped out to take up for those parking places.
is it something that you can screen so that it's not visible from the street?
Well, I think that you could put fencing up and screening anything. I mean, is
Is
that a
that so?
request? Is that a request we're asking for?
Yes.
How about parking it behind the building?
Oh, well, you're up against, there's wetlands there. I'm not sure what the. I'm not sure what the distance is off the building before the wetlands start.
Yeah, well, it's there, but I know that I have a 10-foot easement of wetlands behind the building. The length of the building,
What's the width of the
8 feet.
8 feet? that's something that we
You
can
can-
consider.
So the regulation says it has to be screened from the public view. I think if it's behind the building, the thing is that maybe just you would need to talk to Lynette,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
from a wetlands perspective. So that's something you can address in that email too.
Yeah,
So there's actually there's a regulation saying that you can't park your equipment on the property. So that means that my ice cream truck has to be screened out as well.
So you're using parking spaces that are allotted for patrons to meet the zoning regulations
Right.
for these vehicles. So it
Okay.
says, especially the trailer and things like that, it's supposed to be screened from the street view. Whether it's landscaping, I think behind the building might work because you do have the wetlands, but the issue is you don't want to put it up against the wetlands either. So I think it would be brainstorming a little bit, you know, in the next few weeks and coming up with something to keep it from the public view, so it's not obstructing the parking spaces for your patrons as well.
Okay, but so I don't know if you guys would be able to see this or view it, but so if you look at the building, I'm looking at it to the left side, there's three parking places that are not blocked out for parking places.
can you lift it up a little bit higher, Rich? We were
Yeah.
only seeing the top of the building.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, I thought there was a better shot of this, but I don't have it. But there's three parking places starts from the Ballards, actually before, I think the first couple Ballards over that were not counted for parking places. So if I was to get those marked out, that would give me three more parking places in front of the building.
So the CEO officer's comment that it whether it's this trailer or your hot dog cart or an ice cream cart has to be screened from the street. The fact that it's taking up parking spaces is not a good thing in that the approval was for X amount of parking. And
Right.
with potentially three pieces on the property will take up parking spaces, which would cause a violation.
Well, so Mark, what I'm trying to explain to you is that there's three parking places in front of the building that I believe when Cumberland Farms was there, they had it designated for a loading dock. So those were not counted in. So what I'm saying is that I have three additional parking spots that I can add to the property.
So following the Cumberland Farms, the property owner came in and did a site plan approval for potential retail, restaurant and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
So that site plan, whether it's used for loading or not, that was the approved site plan. So I think what the chairman's asking is, can you kind of brainstorm with the approved site plan, which you have, to see if there's somewhere you can either create more parking or use spaces and have screening so that these events, trailers and vehicles are screened from the public view, but you also have required parking spaces that are unobstructed to meet the zoning approval.
Okay. I mean, I don't know what to say. I feel like I'm not getting the point across. There are three additional parking places that I can have striped out.
So what if you propose that and put that in the email that you're gonna send in the next 3 weeks?
Yeah, that's perfect.
Or demonstrate it on the site plan and then figure out how it'll best work for you, whether it's behind the building or however you're proposing to do this.
Well, I mean, that would be the easiest if, out of sight, out of mind, right? That would be the easiest thing to do.
Okay.
It's just kind of hard to go find additional property when you're paying rent. And in my case, year round, and we will be open year round this coming year. It's to find other locations at the inconvenience of loading it when you're going to do an event and stuff like that. Logistically, it's pretty unfair of a request.
Well, I think part of the issue was the initial approval didn't have these trucks and trailers and events things included in it, or would have been discussed.
Right.
In, in the beginning, these are things as your business has evolved that have been added.
Yeah, yeah, of course, and I agree with that as well. Yeah.
So in order for me to sign off on it, I gotta have the commission, you need to come to some kind of a consensus with them as to what's gonna work.
Right.
Okay.
And go,
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Um, are you still proposing to add a 8 by 26 shed?
Well, maybe not now, because if I have to park the trailer in the back of the building, then I don't have any place to put the shed.
So if you do plan on the addition of a shed, we need to have you provide that information to the land use department so they can be reviewed for compliance.
Yeah, of course.
it would go back to the commission, so if you wanna add that to whatever you're proposing. For a future location, it would just make sense now because I have to bring everything back to the commission.
Right.
Yeah.
So when you do the you do the parking, the extra parking that you've indicated, and you, future proposal for a shed, you should mark that out on the site plan as well.
Okay.
Okay?
Yep.
And then there was some discussion that's taken place about, street trees. You were talking
Yeah.
about removal,
Yeah.
something.
There's some issues going on there, and one of them, I provided Chris with pictures. The one next to Saybrook Seafood is literally tearing the parking lot up to the extent that it's taking the curving out, and it has to be resolved because it's ruining the parking lot.
These are the roots.
Yeah, the roots are they're right out of the ground. I mean, literally, if you were to try to back into that one space that's next to the tree, you'd be going boom, boom to go over it. And the roots have come up enough that you could see in the pictures that I provided Chris that the curving is been taken out because of the roots.
I think one of the big concerns there is that people are using, they're not even stopping there anymore. That's now, you can go right through into the next whole business parking lot just through that space, so.
That's the opposite side of the property,
Oh, we're talking about the.
The side where
Yeah.
the sign is,
Yeah.
next to Saybrook Seafood, not the
the sign has an outside.
Flamage. Yeah.
So, are you gonna move forward with something there?
Oh
I guess
no!
I'm
Listen,
ignorant of what
I don't
you're-
want to. I don't want to do anything without there being an upset about it. But something has to be resolved about it because it's ruining the parking lot. In fact, I got an estimate to fix it from the driveway doctor. It's like $4,500, and
Well, I guess,
that's not including taking the tree down. And I don't even know who owns the tree. Is the tree I didn't even think to ask the property owner whether he owns the tree or not.
well, it's either on the property or it could be in the state right away.
So it's shown on the site plan. Where the tree location is, I believe the tree was planted as part of the special exception permit, so. I put together a list of all the things that obviously that we discussed when we met, because. It's not as though I can tell you to just start moving parking spaces and taking trees out that.
No, listen, I get it all. That's why we're having the conversation, right? So Chris, just to let you know what I think is that tree's been there for years, and there was 3 trees planted. I don't know how I would distinguish 2 in the front.
Oh, you muted yourself, Rich.
Sorry. So that the tree that we're talking about right now, I think's been up there for years. There was 3 trees planted across the front. Um, I think I remember seeing in a letter from you what they had to put a stop sign on. They had to put some trees in the front, and I believe it's the three trees that are now in the front of the building, not the one that we're talking about.
Those are the required street trees to make the landscaping buffer, which 1 tree for every 40 feet.
So do you need the old tree as part of the required trees?
You don't, need it, but.
Well, that's
you
part of
need
the
to replace it,
requirements
yeah.
when they,
Yeah.
It's needed.
the previous to meet the requirements, so that's the issue is what do we do with the tree that's causing the
Causing
root
shade.
system? Pavement.
So it sounds, Rich, as if you're uncertain as to which direction you're gonna move here with that particular situation. So it sounds as if you need some more time to put that, we lost him? We lose him?
Rich, we can't see you and you're muted.
He's on the bottom.
Yeah, he's muted. Rich, you're muted. Can you hear us? Okay. Well, let's see if he comes back. We'll have to finish it afterwards.
Well, I guess
We have
the summary is the permanent sign will be installed by June 1st, and awning sign will be removed by April 15th. The commission's advising that A-frame and other temporary signs are expressly prohibited. I'd like an email to the commission within the next 3 weeks with a plan to discuss if he's gonna put bollards in or blocks to stop the cars from entering the seating area or crashing through the seating area. The truck, he needs to determine the location, either it goes behind the building or another location where it's screened from the public view.
Right.
And a proposal as to how he wants to meet the street tree requirement and
Right.
fix the asphalt that's being destroyed by girdling roots. So the question is, would it make sense to have him come back?
Yes,
Um,
I believe so.
so maybe on May 5th, I would give, what's today, the 30th?
Yes.
It'll give him a few weeks to get that together, to
Yep.
get to you, and then, so return on May 5th.
And also as part of the storage of the truck trailers, whatever you should, if he's thinking of the back of the building, you should have a conversation with wetlands.
Wetlands.
Did he cover that, truck? I know it's long, but a car cover?
Then it just becomes
Yeah.
space on the property in order to find a car cover.
All right, so we'll,
And it can't obstruct the parking space.
right.
He's gonna have to move.
So when he comes back, when he comes back to us, that at that time we'll have he'll have taken his old plan and updated it for us to look at.
Correct.
Okay.
Not by an engineer or a surveyor, but just kind of
Right.
mark it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what he's thinking, because right now he doesn't meet the terms of his current special exception permit and he's operating, so we're trying to resolve
Right.
the existing issues and now we have some new issues.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we don't have to make a motion.
Just to continue it to May 5th, the applicant will respond in an email no later than 3 weeks from this meeting, which is, we'll get something for your packet, so your packet would be. So May 4th is our first zoning meeting. They'll have, by the 24th, they'll provide information for the commission for their packets to show what he's proposing.
Okay,
May 4th?
May 4th meeting. Okay. Don't have to.
No, just make a motion to continue to move.
So the motion, I'm making a motion to continue the conversation regarding Fenwick ice cream discussion for zoning compliance to our May 4th, 2026 meeting. By Robin, all in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, abstaining. Thank you. Thank you, if you can hear us, Rich. Moving on to section 6. Open public hearings to Appleby Holdings application for special exception permit for the addition of a cannabis product pickup window as an accessory use to an approved 4,486 square foot retail cannabis dispensary facility, adult use. 5 Custom Drive, Assessors Map 46, Lot 1-6, Gateway Business B4 District. Applicant is Appleby Holdings LLC. Property owner is 5 Custom LLC. Our action is to open public hearing, continue or close by April 20th, 2026, and no later than May 3rd, 2026. Well,
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. I'm Attorney Joseph Hammer, representing the applicant Appleby Holdings. With me is my colleague, Attorney Matthew Rosenthal, and in the audience is Chuck Appleby as well. So this is a special exception application, the sole purpose of which is to add a cannabis product pickup window at the previously approved cannabis retail facility to be located at 5 Custom Drive. And this is made under your recently enacted cannabis product pickup window regulations, which we were here several months ago on and presented to you. In addition to the pickup window itself, there will be some associated modifications to the building interior, which I'll go through with you briefly, as well as to the area outside the building, as well as the addition of a relatively small attached unenclosed exterior canopy over the proposed window. I should also mention at the outset, our architect unfortunately was ill this evening and unable to join us, and our engineer also unable to join us, so I'm going to be wearing many hats and trying my best. The Architectural Review Board reviewed this at its last meeting, recommended approval of the plans as submitted, and they added one recommendation, which I'll address a little bit later and show you something on that. But that recommendation was to add an internally lit sign on the canopy itself that just further warns people about the 8-foot vehicle clearance. Excuse me. So this window would be added on the south side of the building, but before, which is there where Matt's showing, and basically the clouded area is where there's just some minor interior adjustments. I think primarily there's an addition of a product sort of storage area to serve the window where he's pointing, and in order to do that, we eliminated one of the cash register stations. So the net change essentially shifted, it slightly reduced the amount of retail floor area and slightly increased the amount of what constitutes storage area for parking purposes. Now if you could put up the site plan next. Well, and you can just point to where the window itself will be working on the right side. And as I mentioned, there'd be a 32 square foot exterior canopy that would protect the car driver from bad weather if it's raining during the pickup. Some previously approved curbside order pickup parking spaces will be used as the drive-through lane itself, the stacking lane. And as shown on the site plan, the stacking lane has capacity for 12 vehicles to be within that area. If there was a holdup on someone's order pickup, staff could direct the motor vehicle out of the line in there to prevent delays. One of the things that we're proposing, as you know, under your regulations, it's required, is a maximum number of pickup transactions that can occur in every 30-minute period. And what we are requesting is permission for 6 transactions per 30-minute period. And also wanted to emphasize that we expect the pickup time to be substantially less than 5 minutes. per pickup, and as you know, customers are gonna be limited under your regulation to pre-ordered products. They cannot go to the window without an appointment, they cannot go to the window to place an order, and while they're at the window, they're not allowed to change or modify or add to an order. It's literally just to pick up what's previously been ordered. They can't browse at the window, etc. So the stacking lane could take up to 12 cars, but by definition, 5 are allowed per half hour, rather. It's 5 per half hour, 6, sorry, 5, yes. Because it's 5 minutes. I think I misspoke. It's 6 per half hour, which translates to 5 minutes each. But if all of them were to be there at the same time, that would only be 6 vehicles out of the stacking lane of 12. And again, the order must be placed either online or through a remote ordering process. There will be age and identity verifications at this pickup, just like there are when people go into the store. Proposed hours of operation of the pickup window would be the same as what's previously been approved for the inside portion of the store, which is Monday through Sunday from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. We do not anticipate that the pickup window would add to the number of employees on the site at one time.
Can you just repeat the hours?
Yes, the hours will be the same as what was approved for the retail, which is Monday through Sunday, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m.
Thank you.
Security and operations will comply with all applicable state requirements, just like the store inside. And I also just wanted to point out to you that on the site plan, the minor adjustments by adding the canopy square footage to building coverage, you know, all of those are highlighted in red on that plan. They were minor adjustments. The reallocation of some retail areas to storage did not change the parking requirements, and this application does not change the number of parking spaces. The canopy over the window will be set back approximately 20.3 feet from the property line. That site plan also shows the sign locations for the bus. Oops. Look to that. I believe under our original approval, there were 3 ground directional or wayfinding signs that we have proposed. This application adds 1 additional wayfinding signs and regulations allow for the total. In addition, the size of the wayfinding signs has been increased to 4 square feet, which is also allowed by the regulation. And as you can see, they show one way in terms of vehicle traffic do not enter. They point to the entrance to the retail store, and then there's a one-way pickup window. This is for clearance on it as well. So again, 3 signs were already on the original approval, adding 1 and slightly increasing the size of the signs. The ARB in its letter to you suggested, as I mentioned earlier, that we add a sign over the canopy itself, warning people of the maximum 8 foot. So Matt's pointing to where that would be, and then over to the left here, that's what the text would be: clearance 8 feet, and the letter size is as suggested by the ARB. So that's, you know, that's, I guess I would characterize that less as a directional sign and really more of a warning sign to make sure that nobody drives through with a pickup truck or some other kind of vehicle that's too big and crashes into the.
And where will that be located? Because I was reading things when you were speaking.
The extra sign recommended by ARB.
Right, the clearance 8 foot.
So there's 2 places. ARB recommended adding it right on the front of the canopy as you drive down the drive-through lane, so someone will see that as sort of the last ditch warning, but even.
Side of the building facing 95.
Yes, facing 95. And even prior to that, one of the ground signs before you get to that point also points out maximum height 8 feet. So it's really two warnings for approaching vehicles.
Thank you.
Okay. So I think that's the sort of the basics of what we're being proposed, what we're proposing. And I also wanted to mention that we did submit a letter from SLR engineers, the same firm and engineer who did the traffic study for the purposes of the application presented to you just about a year ago in 2025. And that letter indicates that the engineer expects that, you know, a number of the people who use the window are going to be trips that would have occurred anyway, not new trips because of the window. But he sort of assumes a worst case scenario, just as an illustration, where he assumes that all the window trips with the 6 per half hour would be newly generated traffic. And he concludes that even if that were to occur, there's significant capacity on Custom Drive, and his findings from 2025 in his original report regarding the adequacy of the street to handle the traffic and safety and so forth. Those findings will remain unchanged. And I also wanted to mention the town's outside consulting traffic engineer, Greg Del Rio of H&H. He reviewed the SLR report, and he found that there would be no significant impacts to traffic or parking. It's actually possible that this could serve to reduce slightly the amount of parking that's actually being used. And your traffic engineer also indicated that the window lane, which we showed you with the stacking capacity, provides sufficient vehicle storage. Your outside consulting civil engineer, Mr. Jacobson, also noted that the storage capacity in the pickup lane has adequate stacking capacity. The building official memo indicated no issues. The fire marshal indicated no issues. So that's the application, and we're happy to answer any questions that you may have.
You saw the Jacobson letter of March 20th?
I did, yes.
So pretty much Jeff's comments were related to the traffic lane, so the applicant and I spent a lot of time on a pre-application basis kind of going through to make sure the i's were dotted and the t's were crossed with the application submittal. I reached out to our traffic engineer prior to this for them to coordinate. So Jeff's comments had to do with the stacking lane, and so it's a little bit different. Obviously, this is not, you know, a drive-through McDonald's. It's a pickup window with a per order basis. So those were Jeff's comments, which I believe Hardesty and Hanover addressed, and I did speak with Jeff afterwards. And he didn't send a follow-up, but it was a clean report, but it's technically a clean report.
And just to add to that, I think both Mr. Del Rio as well as our traffic engineer, you know, emphasized, as Chris said, the fact that this is so restricted under your regulations in terms of pickup only. You're very distinguishable from the type of fast food and other pickup windows that you see in other places.
Could you, I see there's changes to the lighting. Could you go over those?
I think and Mike, sorry,
There's one light.
Yes. Go ahead, Matt.
Sure, under the only change in lighting is a single recessed light underneath the awning. So essentially people can have some light and see what's coming in and out of the window. There was, so we did have a new photometric done, but no other changes from your previously approved, lighting.
It shows on the lighting schedule. I'm only asking because they're highlighted in red. And that's why I asked the question. If they would change, you know, it's in the window or. Very much.
I think with the number, if you can see, the two changes are, there used to be 5 building lighted lighting fixtures. And that's now reduced by 9, it's been lowered by 2, and then they added the 2 below that. So that remained the same. And then the bottom of the chart, there's one new recessed socket light, which is underneath
Is the one you
Yeah.
just talked about?
I don't, I think we were told it wasn't necessary to submit a photometric for the soffit light because it's so small and so direct, it is down, right?
So you're, actually what it is two different light models, is that what it is?
That's my understanding, yeah.
Gotcha.
They went from 5 watt lights to 3 5 watt and 2 3.5 watt.
Good question for you. This first one of the signs, where exactly is that? That's the first one you're gonna see where, when you look at your site plan, it's all hot, you're stacking.
Yeah, they,
That one is gonna notify the entrance and it's also the first time we'll see about the.
my understanding, well, the first time, to be clear, the first time they're gonna see the 8 times is online. When they, in order to even make the order, it's going to have a warning that the pickup window was limited to 8. But then at least this one, oh yeah.
It's the 12 cars, so it's actually the
Yeah.
one.
If it's sign one,
Yeah.
has the additional language about it, we.
Yeah, so that's the one,
Yes.
so that's where they see it, and
That's gonna be,
then,
and then one way, I
Right.
didn't really.
but then there'll be, before they even get there, there'll be a warning when they place the order. The order will have to be placed online, and it will have a. Right.
And then I'll see it again here.
Yes.
And then, plus, and
Yes.
then it'll be, on top of the canopy as well.
Thank you.
Other questions, commissioners? Derek?
Yeah, I know I'm late to the game on this application, so I'm just gonna voice my concern on one thing. The staying open is hours of operation till 9 PM,
Right, those were the previously approved for
Yeah.
the inside operation, yes.
but that'll also relay to the pickup window.
Yes.
Yeah, so there's a decent length, on that pickup window side of landscaping, fence, and then another property on the side. Any discussion prior, or should we have discussion on lighting within the landscaping so that we have these not very extended light, surface mounted, lights on the building? Those, is that light extending out across so that people who are in their car feel safe from this, what, I'm just being hypothetical here, but, very dark landscaping on the side where, not to be ridiculous, but people could be hiding and like,
Yeah,
Get in and
my
try to
understanding
steal
is on
something.
previously approved photometric, the light pretty much goes right to the property line, which that includes that 10-foot buffer. So the light, doesn't really reach the 0 numbers until a good about 10 feet past the length.
so. Everybody feels very comfortable that there's enough lighting for people to feel safe who are sitting in their car waiting for their turn at the window.
I would, I think though, plus, obviously most of the operation will be during daylight hours. It is lit along here, and at nighttime they will have their headlights on.
I get that, but during, from October until April, anything after 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock is dark.
Yeah, I mean, I think by any changes, we would have to have plus value numbers over the property line. I mean, this part of the property right here is kind of field until, 95.
Yeah.
It's not like the property owners, but we would, obviously, for the first approval, we were trying to comply with, have the numbers drop to 0 by the property line.
Right, and listen, I'm not, this is me just asking questions,
Yeah.
I'm not trying to be confrontational at all.
Yeah, no, I think it's within your power to
within-
allow us to exceed those numbers.
Within that landscaping, it doesn't have to be bright light everywhere, but it could be landscape lighting down on like, not ballards, but the landscaping ballards that shine light down, that at least give like a 2 or 3 foot radius of light down on, so people can see into the landscaping, if that's deemed necessary at all. I'm just voicing a concern on safety for people who are just sitting in that lane.
Appreciate that, but would also just note that as part of the overall facility security operation, there are cameras not only inside the building, but also throughout the parking lot and around the building.
Oh, certainly.
Which would include.
The DCP is going to require us to have full coverage, full, regular, light bearing cameras and infrared cameras. That this lane will be safer than certainly a drive-up pickup window in a bank. There will be more camera coverage around this entire parking lot with a security person monitoring the monitor.
This is a great question, to be honest with you, because this was the first question in 2018 I took up when I started this project with my wife, was exactly what you're saying. And that was addressed there with the security cameras, the lights, the motion, everything. At 4:00, 4:30, it gets dark in the fall, right?
Yeah.
Guess what? Right? You never know. It's out in the woods, right? So that's been addressed. And again, we can't discuss the incomplete security systems here that's going on.
Right,
I think we've said probably
Too much, but just
well,
fine, yeah.
not too much, but enough to engage you to what you
Yeah.
should feel comfortable with, I think, at this point. But that was really the first thing that I took on when I took on this was exactly what you're saying.
Yeah,
So from my experience with Fine Metal, having seen all the securities, the different door locks, the camera system, which is unbelievable, the DCP requirements. It's easier to rob a bank than to have something it's unbelievable the amount of regulation the state puts on.
and is there any just general discussion about, let's say there are 12 cars stacked in a row, waiting for their pickup window. Is there safety concerns for just the people who are just sitting there? I mean, I know they're meant to be quick moving pickups. This is not, they're sitting for 30 minutes just sitting there. So just any thoughts on, or just, was there any discussion on, safety? It's probably the cameras, right? Anything else? Or is that not something that is a concern, which I don't know if it should or shouldn't be?
It's generally not been a concern at any of the other
Okay.
locations where pickup windows or drive-up windows have been placed. The fact the stacking lane is actually double the actual number of scheduled appointments. So, there's no pedestrian, even if back at car number 12, which, that's past the point where pedestrians are walking or parking, so that is safe. I think it's just like any other business, except the line won't get as long, and the Dunkin' Donuts, the Starbucks with 15, 20 cars of people waiting and ordering. Is gonna be much longer than this, that has people with pre-placed orders. And a scheduled window to pick up, with no more than 6 in that half an hour here.
And also the ability, if the lead car gets to the window and then there's some kind of issue with their pickup, and it's gonna take too long, then the operator can just say, please
There's
drive
3 reserves
around
over here
and
for
we're
curb
gonna
stop.
deal with you over there, but we can't hold up the line.
And there will be, maybe more cameras over here.
Right.
Gotcha. Great, thank you.
Any other questions? Comments? No. Okay, since this is a public hearing, if there's anybody in the audience or online wishing to speak, either for or against this application, please raise their hand.
There's no one.
No one online, is there anyone in the room? Does not look like there is. So, at this point, I would ask the commission if we're prepared to close public hearing, or does it need to be continued? You're good, everybody's good. So I'll make a motion to close public hearing for Applebee Holdings application for special exception permit for the addition of a cannabis product pickup window as an accessory use to an approved 4,486 square foot retail cannabis dispensary facility. Adult use, 5 Preston Drive, Assessors Map 46, Lot 1-6, Gateway Business B4 District. There's a second, seconded by Rob. Is there any further discussion? Not hearing any, move to a vote. All those in favor signal by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, or abstain, passes 5-0-0. So, we're now in, deliberation. Do we have enough material this evening to deliberate this application? Okay. Is there a motion to be made by someone? Not hearing one. I'll make a motion. Sorry.
Yeah, I'll make.
Oh, okay, go ahead. I didn't see you. Sorry.
No.
Please do.
I make a motion to approve the Appleby Holdings application for special exemption permit for the addition of a cannabis product pickup window as an accessory use to an approved 4,486 square foot retail cannabis dispensary facility, adult use at 5 Cutcom Drive, Assessors Map 46, Lot 1-6, Gateway Business B4 District.
Are there any conditions? I didn't hear any conditions. Do we have?
Nothing I heard that would be a condition. Applicant did a pretty thorough job.
Thorough job. Right.
Second.
Seconded by John Henry. Is there any further discussion? Not hearing any, we'll move to a vote. All those in favor signal by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, abstains, passes 5-0-0. Thank you very much.
Thank you all very much.
Have a good evening.
The new plan, they passed something down.
The only thing we got to do with this was our.
Perfect. That's you, okay, just for the file, I didn't.
Yeah, that's all.
Right, just to clarify, does the approval include that the extra clearance sign suggested by the AR?
Yes, I
Yeah.
presented, yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, continuing with the discussion of Penny Lane Club proposed 1,200 square foot 60 by 20 seasonal outdoor tent at 150 Main Street, Assessors Map 37, Lot 125, B1 District, pedestrian node. The applicant is Alexis Hebert and a general manager. Ms. Hebert.
Hi, how are you?
Welcome. Would you like to run through what your plans are?
I would just like to say that I had sent that there are a few mistakes in that. I had only ever proposed a 20 by 30 foot tent, 600 square feet.
So it's a 20 by 30
Yes.
and it's 600 square feet.
Yes. Also, my
Okay.
name is Alexina. I don't know if that matters.
I apologize, I
Apologize.
was out when the agenda.
No,
was
no
drafted,
problem.
so
No
there's-
problem.
Okay, please.
Were there concerns about the seasonal tent being put up?
So make sure that we understand where it is that you want to locate the tent. It's in the back of the building.
Yep.
And it's in we have some pictures that were provided to us.
Mhm.
And the 20 by 30 would cover all of the seating area? Or-
No.
No,
It covers about half.
about 50%.
Yes.
I think where the confusion came is that diagram then.
This one? Okay. This one.
Well, it says 20 by 30.
Yeah, it says, yeah. Okay,
That's where the.
yeah.
Sorry, I'm a restaurant manager, not an architect or I did my best.
It's quite all right, don't worry.
Does that go to the front? Which end? The
This
front.
is our back patio.
I meant you said it's gonna cover half of that grassy area in the back?
Yeah, so we're aiming to put it, I have it written there about 5 feet off of the property line on the left-hand side, which will give us about 12 feet from the right-hand side, and we're aiming to push it towards the back to leave the front area of the grassy back patio open for sunshine, as well as the right hand side available for a little bit of sunshine. It's really just to offer a little bit of comfortability to some of our guests.
When you say left, you mean the north side, which goes towards the hardware store?
Yes.
And when you say back, away from, Penny, a bit away from your building toward the garden that's way in the back?
It's just the back part of the grassy
Grass.
patio area, not the entirety of the property line.
Gotcha. Okay. Are you planning on doing any lighting?
So what we have out there currently, also I would like to preface this with, we need the tent for the daytime hours for the most part. At night, between the bugs and the cold weather, our back area really isn't that popular. It dies down early in the afternoon. But for lighting, we currently have a strip of Edison lights out, which we plan to extend inside of the tent for safety measures.
Okay, so that would be completely inside. You have them hanging around the perimeter of the whole
Yeah.
area?
Yep, we would like to bring them inside of the tent as well.
Okay.
So it'd be an increase of lighting from where it is right now.
No, we would, because we wouldn't need the lighting around the outside of the tent as much as we would need it inside once the tent gets put up. So it'd probably just be a relocation.
So it's a relocation of the existing lighting that's there now.
Yes.
And what's the seasonality timeframe that you're looking to do this at?
Honestly, probably the beginning of June to the end of August. Very short window, but that's all it really needs to be necessary.
You gotta do June to October.
Oh,
Yeah,
June to October is what I put.
The paperwork here is June to October. So is it June to October or June to September?
Yeah, yes, sorry, but in the last email I sent, I had June to September.
Okay, now would that be September 1st?
I would say the end of September. June to the
September.
beginning of June to the end of September.
Okay. Sure.
My only questions on obviously all the proper tie downs, making sure that, you know, even if cause it can get pretty windy, that, you know, peak hurricane season. Just making sure that all the proper safety protocols are put in place on the tent. That's it.
We did talk with a local tent supply company who had zero concerns of a tent being able to be put up properly and securely. But besides the regular precautions, we would plan to take it down with any advised large hurricanes or whatever inclement weather we would have.
Do you anticipate having, or let me rephrase that, will you have side curtains?
We don't plan on it we were not going to seed it in inclement weather. So that wasn't a part of the plan.
Yeah. The tent really is considered a structure. Certainly if it would increase it if size were applied to it. So that's part of what our concern would be, is the addition of the structure in the back sitting area. And do you have plans to have music?
Nope, music is not part of this at all. It's just for sunshine shade. It gets very hot back there, as you could see in those photos I submitted. The complaints that we get from our customers is just that the umbrella is not enough shade to keep them comfortable during the duration of their meal. And unfortunately, people like to sit outside even though they get hot.
We understand your request and potential need for shade. Knowing that a tent of this size is, considered a structure. What we could, consider, and it would be up to this commission to determine, is, like a 1 year, lack of better terminology, test to your, zoning compliance to see how it would be handled and, operated, and then reviewed, prior to the following upcoming season.
What are those, like, is it a size requirement that makes it a structure? Or what makes it a standing structure as opposed to a seasonal tent?
So the definition of structure said something more or less or permanently affixed to the ground is a structure. There's a little bit more to it. We've never had an outdoor seating request, to have a permanent type of or semi-permanent type of a tent. So this really would be a little bit of an experiment for outdoor seating. So I think what the chairman's thinking is just how we've done outdoors sales for Walmart and things like that, kind of on a temporary seasonal, to do it as a little bit of a trial, since it's only for 4 months.
Right.
See how it goes this year, and then maybe have some of the things that were discussed, lights inside, no, put in the location, no sides, kind of firming up that statement of use a little bit to put in what we discussed. And then we do a certificate of zoning compliance and see how it goes, and it's kind of new territory.
Right.
For us, it's easy.
I'm sorry, I've spoken with the owners of the monkey farm, and they recently, after COVID, put in that tent outside. Their tent is much larger than what we're hoping to put in, so I'm just curious as to what the difference would be.
Did that permanently get? I don't remember.
I don't remember that.
It's been up for about 2, probably 3 seasons at this point.
I think we approved that.
So we think we need to kind of clarify what it is with the time frame. They came in for a full-blown modification to their special exception permit. So I think the thought is, rather than have you come in with a full-blown site plan with the so forth, just to kind of see how it goes for a test, and maybe it's something the commission would want to entertain for other properties. So what they did was they came in to their COVID seating went so well, just like Penny Lane. They decided, to keep the tent in that they had. So they went to the zoning commission, and they went through and kind of permitted it more as a permanent structure within that time frame. So I think this is somewhat the same thing. I actually forgot about that. COVID seems like a long time ago.
Okay, well then I guess, we'd be happy to run it on a yearly trial, but my concern is we invest all this time and money and effort into it. I want to know what you're looking for in a year that we can kind of just be prepared for, to know. I know you said it's a trial, but just something for us to know if it's worth the investment, and how we can prevent use from, how we can prevent being denied at the end of the trial period.
Well, we want to see, and it could be a hand drawn on a paper as to exactly approximately where it would be placed in the property behind. We would.
So part of it, I'm going to interrupt.
Sure.
Part of the issue is that we couldn't get a site plan because our files were out for scanning. So they tried to put this together to demonstrate that.
Okay.
Maybe that did come back. We can get something a little more.
I did send over the site plan with the draw up on it. It's a little difficult to see. I'm not familiar with that, the programming, but included in is the site plan with the map up of where it would be located on our property.
So typically, what the monkey farm did was they actually had their surveyor go out for their special exception modification. And I think that's kind of what, rather than having you go through that and have the whole property surveyed to show the location of the tent, I think the discussion is to go through and kind of do it as a trial, and
Trial
maybe
is-
this is something the commission could
Right.
think about.
And I like the idea, and I have a little different concern, not even a concern, because I don't imagine this would be a problem, but, you know, we had some, few years back, we had some complaints because of the proximity to the neighbors about, and this was about music and noise, which you're not talking about now, you don't have anything, but I just like to make sure that there's nothing really, erupts from the neighbors, because you're close to a few houses, you know?
Right, yeah. We do have, I mean, it's not on our side, but there are some tall trees that separate any visibility really of that area. I don't know if you can see them.
I walked the property today, and the arborvitae are like 35 feet tall, there's a bunch of them along the other side of the fence.
It's
So,
included in one of the photos I attached.
Yeah,
Yeah, we have.
We have it.
I don't
Okay.
anticipate any problem, I'm just saying, a year trial would kind of surface any real problems, if there was anything.
Right, yeah. I also see the viewpoint of being concerned about noise and whatnot, but as I said, our back patio area really significantly dies down late at night, as does the restaurant. I mean, we close relatively early in comparison to any noise violation times. Our kitchen closed at 9 p.m. We intend on keeping it the same throughout. So, you know, other than that, if it's a visibility issue or whatever you'd like, we're happy to comply. We just really want that shade up for the comfort of our customers.
Things that would be concerning at the end of the trial period would be if we saw side curtains up. Okay, we saw increased lighting, rather than relocation of the lighting that's there now into the tent area, or an expansion of the tent through an additional smaller tent. Those would be some of the things that would be concerning for a continuation. You know, we really haven't, as Chris indicated, we really haven't had this come across before, other than during the COVID, which was a whole other process. So I think we're open-minded enough to support the businesses in a trial. And it's really up to you as the applicant and the operator to ensure that it goes along the path that we've laid out here for you so that it could be successful.
Right. I do have one question. With the relocation of the current lighting that's already out there, those are extendable strips, you know, where you could plug one into one end and extend it slightly. If we note that we need more lighting to finish out the inside of the tent, would you mind if we plugged in another strip of the Edison light bulbs? Or is that allowed, or?
I think we would like to be made aware of that.
Okay.
I think you're gonna have to.
You're gonna have to,
Yeah,
you're not,
on the inside.
the lighting, you're gonna need to keep the lighting on the outside as well as lighting on the inside. Because if you, in my estimation, you remove the lighting from outside, you're gonna be in darkness.
So I
Right,
think they'd have the lighting on the outside till you get to the tent, and the tent lighting would be inside.
Inside, right.
Inside the tent.
But it would be additional, from what I thought I heard, was taking the lights that are hung there now on the outside and hanging them inside.
we can do whatever would be approved.
I think,
I get what we're asking, he's asking you what you're doing or would like to do.
yeah,
So it's
I
just
would-
made
I
clear
would-
now to give you an approval, hopefully, that's it.
Right.
right.
I would like to put extra lighting on the inside of the tent, knowing how, you know, you need it. So we would like to extend what's already there inside of the tent. If you want us to move what's outside inside, we can, but I think extra lighting would be better.
I think as long as the general luminosity doesn't, you know,
It's inside.
if everything
Inside
stays
the
the
tent,
same.
and it was a continuation of the same exact lighting inside the tent as there was outside, I think that would be acceptable.
Yeah.
Yes.
That would be the plan, yeah. It's a warm lighting light bulb. It doesn't extend much further than where it's placed.
We wouldn't wanna see a glaring light that protrudes over the fence, through the trees, into the abutting neighborhood.
That's right.
We don't want that either.
Right. Just to be clear.
Yes, thank you.
Have you talked to the health department yet?
About putting a tent? No, but I could.
So what I'm thinking is, cause if it's a 1 year, kind of 4 month trial, clarify what's here, we do a certificate of zoning compliance for the year. So that the zoning commission can, consider it again. If it's all fine, I think it's just kind of a continued use, and we need to discuss how to handle this really in the future when it's more of a temporary situation. And then as part of that, you'll need a health approval. So the health department, I think, is gonna wanna make sure, not necessarily for the dining or seating portion of it, because you're gonna keep your seating, outdoor seating the same, correct?
Yes.
I think it's taking stakes or some other kind of, it's puncturing the septic system. I think that's what they're gonna be concerned with. And then once you get a certificate of zoning compliance, you'll just have to check with the fire marshal and the building department.
I did just get the card for the new Fire Marshal Nelson wine. But also, we will not be puncturing the ground. We plan to use water barrels or cement barrels to secure the tent. Would that be a health inspection?
And that should be fine, but it's also the building inspector too may require a permit. So if you can get just the health approval, the zoning approval based on this, there's a form we can get to you. It's a certificate of zoning compliance. That'll, that just check with the building department, everybody. So in order for us to issue zoning, we have to have a health approval in place first. So, they would take a look at it, and if you're just gonna put buckets or some other kind of structure above the ground to hold it, it probably isn't gonna be an issue. But they also too sometimes consider tents and other outdoor structures as building structure, which has setbacks from septic and leaching and so forth. I suspect they'll probably call this temporary, but this isn't our call, it's their call.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
So you'll email that form over to me if you could, and then I'll reach out to our health inspection and the new fire marshal and see what they need.
I'll just copy them on the email.
Okay.
So I've got a few meetings tomorrow morning. Hopefully I'll be able to do it first thing, but at some point tomorrow I'll get it out and copy building and fire.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else?
No, thank you.
All right, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
All right, have a good evening.
Make sure you put the detail.
Good night. Committee representative and staff reports.
Alright. So. We still have a lot going on and it's not gonna let up for a while. So, and unfortunately, what happened too was there was a number of things that I had wanted to schedule and I didn't know we were gonna be this busy that are all gonna come up in the next 2 months. So just to kind of give you a quick overview of what you have, you should have gotten this on Wednesday, April 15th from 6 to 7 before the planning commission meeting. Where land use is hosting, it's a special meeting for River Landing Marina. That's the Between the Bridges, former Between the Bridges North Yard. That proposal is gonna go to planning, zoning, harbor management, and a number of different commissions. So I talked with the applicant, we thought it would make sense just to have one meeting with kind of the general concept and overview so that everybody can wrap their head around it. And if someone can't make it, you can always go back and watch it on Zoom. So that is one extra night.
I will be recused from that. Any further down the road will also be recused from that. Okay.
So, on April 27th, that's our special meeting with the text amendments we talked about, and I'm getting a little bit of pressure of people waiting for certain things. We have certain deadlines. This was our housekeeping text. We worked on it last year. We were ready to send it to public hearing, or most of it since then. There's been more changes. And the thought was to wait until the election, till the new commission members got on board, and then they just kind of got pushed to the side a little bit. So the thought would be, I'm hoping to get you text probably by April 10th, and I'm trying to put some descriptions in there to give you a little context, as well as new planning members and new members on different boards and commissions, as to how we got to, sometimes we'll talk about, like tonight, maybe we should talk about having a regulation added to our outdoor seating for smaller tents. This is how these regulations come up. We find a situation that comes up. So we kind of call them our housekeeping amendments. If we could try to get through them, if we get hung up on something, maybe we just continue it and not just leave it behind, just so we can get some of the guts of what we need. We have mandatory changes to coastal site plan. There's some things we need to get on the books. So I'll send it to you to review before. If you have questions, obviously you can reach out. And hopefully on the 27th, and this is what we talked about at our last meeting, whatever we can agree on, we can just get to a public hearing and get. So right now, I think I've got about 19 pages of amendments, and it's all little stuff. Little stuff, but big stuff. It's not, an entire section, but things we found were required to change. Just to give you a little bit of a heads up, and I'll go through this I have to go through this Wednesday with planning. You're familiar with the changes to the new statutes that have gone into place with that new public act relating to housing. So there are certain text amendments that we need to have in place by July 1st, which, it seems a long way off, but July 1st is going to be here in the blink of an eye. There's also changes that our affordable housing plans are now, we have the option, and many of you attended these joint meetings, the regional housing growth plan. So the one thing with some of the laws that are coming into place, if we don't have regulations in place, we're going to be unprotected. So part of this, and Brenda actually now is attending all of our regional housing meetings, just to also be another set of ears through these. It boils down to it. I'm taking something very complicated and trying to, and Mark, jump in, make it simple, is that we have to have these housing growth zones in place. And we either have a choice of going through and doing mixed use, or, having higher density housing. It kind of seems like a no-brainer right now to get something on the books to take the B1 mixed-use housing study area and kind of fix some of those regulations. We may have to fix them again, but we have the zone line. It's kind of, everybody's talked about it, and I think the boards and commissions have somewhat agreed upon it to go forward, except we would just, and we do have the B1 mixed use housing regulations in place. We have to make some tweaks. There's tweaks we'll have to make with our regulations too, depending on the number of units, where, and I can't remember, I think it's 16 units, where there's certain areas that parking can be no longer required. I don't understand how they came up with the text, but it's called a conservation transit zone. Traffic, yeah, it's a very odd, and I don't have my notes, but we can identify up to 2 housing growth zones, or we can have more than 2, but 2 of these transit zones. And we can, if we identify, thank you, I didn't bring that. It's called the transit. I don't think
I don't know if it's in.
so anyway, pretty much what it is, it's 2 zones we can opt in to do that we could require parking. So out of those 2 zones, it has to be less than 4% of the area of the total area of the town. I'm not really sure, there's two different interpretations, if each zone is less than 4%, or if the total of both can be 8% if you have two. It's not clear right now if it's only developable land or a combination of undevelopable and developable land. So the River Cog hired a company called IMEG, that part of the whole bill is that we have to, for the housing plans, show developable land area. The problem with Old Saybrook is when you try to identify what's developable, the only way you can identify it is by doing soils analysis. Well, that's kind of tricky for us. In sewer towns, it's pretty easy. You just go through, you put your densities, you take out your wetlands, you take out those constraints. So OPM is setting guidelines. RiverCog's going to work on that for the overall analysis, and they put out this program that we can, as RiverCog towns, opt in and use this IMEG consulting firm to help us to write our regs. Today, we were the first meeting out of all the RiverCog towns. One of the concerns I had initially, and I had talked to Mark and our attorney, was the timelines for them to produce their product will leave us exposed. So we really need to fast track this, because there are people asking, do you have your, what are you doing with the regs you're going to have in place by July 1st? And the thought is, and after meeting with them, would be to push forward. I think we kind of have a good idea with mixed use, because it's something we've been working on, at least start to establish something. We can always go back and change things, but at least if we can get, you know, the tools in place, change what we have to do for the minimum requirements, then at least we've kind of protected ourselves for, and we can always change it.
We can always change it afterwards, but also part of it is we have to, was it 30-day public notice?
So the way that it would work, so for us to, even the text amendments we're going to look at, in order for us to, if we schedule a public hearing on the July 1st text or any text, we have certain mandatory referrals that we have to refer out 35 days in advance of the hearing. So when you look at July 1st and you take 35 days and you go through and trying to get, obviously this commission, planning commission, everybody has to have a little bit of buy-in. We just don't have the time we normally would. And if there's a window of opportunity, a developer could come in and say, hi, well, you don't have anything for housing, so I'm going to propose this really extremely dense housing, and it affects business owners. So the thought would be just to protect ourselves. We continue with the Department of Housing study. We continue with what we're doing, but put that in place. So I just wanted to fill you in, and I know some of you have attended the workshops if you have any questions. And then I'm going to talk to planning on Wednesday. So we've given the green light, but part of it is, for some reason, and even in talking with our attorney, he said we're one of the only towns that has had concerns about the timelines and the exposure period. And I think some of it is out of, you know, a number of the RiverCog towns, we have a lot more business zone land. As you can see from your agendas, we have a lot more development and redevelopment demand. And I think that's why we're pushing a little bit more to get this in place. So I just wanted to kind of get your thoughts and fill you in, but I think we're kind of got a gun to our head a little bit.
And very uncharted waters because of the new bills. And we know that it'll probably eventually be updated. When, who knows? But it's very complicated in the sense that you're really going to wrap your head around it and take the time to read it and absorb it and apply it to what we are already doing to make sure that we don't leave ourselves vulnerable for that short window or for a short window. We kind of educated the folks this morning in our session with them a little bit, because to Chris's work and to the various commissions in town, we've been proactive versus then reactive over the years. And some of what we're doing goes back to 2009, I think, right? That apply to what is just recently come out from the state, so.
So, yeah, so part of it is our incentive housing zoning regulation. So in 2009, Old Saybrook spent, or a little bit before 2009, there was the home builders push forward a bill to have an alternate to 830G, which is called incentive housing, which we have in our regulations. And incentive housing was proposed by the home builders because at the time they would go in and have an 830G application and all the commission members would go, oh, you're breaking our rules, you know. And they kind of got this hostile, you know, feeling when they went in, because it was take your regulations, throw them out. We're going to beat your height requirement. We don't have to meet these rules. So the home builders came out with incentive housing, which when we started, we went through this whole developable, undevelopable land analysis, and we were stuck with soils. So we went forward with that. We developed our first incentive housing zone. We kind of zoned large. There was 3 or 4 of them at the time. And the difference was, rather than having, you know, 30% of your units deed restricted affordable, it went to 20. And then the commission could pick some incentives. So for example, instead of a 50-foot setback, you could have a 25-foot setback if you located here. So the first development we had was through the Hope Partnership at 45 Ferry Road, where the town was able to acquire a piece of property from the state of Connecticut for $1, and that's what's now the Ferry Road playfield and ferry crossing. So part of it to incentivize the town was that if you adopted the map, you'd get a map adoption payment. And if you actually did the development, there would be a payment per number of units. So at the time, I don't really think we were focusing on the payment. Obviously, money's nice. So we were one of the first towns to have incentive housing zoning. 45 Ferry Road, we were able to get that approved. And then because incentive housing zones are site plans, which, you know, it's pretty much 65 days we have to approve them. If you don't approve them, they're automatically approved. So Ed Casella at the time represented the East Point developers, who they came in, or were coming in with a text amendment to create a new IHC or map amendment right now where Saybrook Station is. So at the time, our town planner called, I think it was DOH at the time. It goes back and forth depending on the time, if it was a Department of Housing or Office of Policy Management, said, look, you know, we can't prepare this big application. We have 65 days once this thing comes in, not a problem. So very, very long story short, East Point ended up getting approved. We went and prepared the application, the zoning commission. It was about this big. And they didn't act on it at least 2 times. So then the thought was, okay, well, maybe we're zoning, our town planner was dealing with it. Let's send Chris up there as the zoning officer and see how this goes, just to kind of get a difference. So I went up there and I met with the gentleman, and he pretty much said, well, no, first of all, your Ferry Road incentive housing zone is too big. You only have a development on 1 parcel. You can't have something that big. And I said, well, the purpose is zoning to guide a developer where you want them to go, not to pick 1 lot. And he said, well, no, you would bankrupt the program with it that big, and you don't have your soils. You can't figure it out since you don't have sewers. So I said, well, okay, so what do you want us to do to make East Point eligible? So he said, well, the zoning commission, which the zoning commission did, we removed all the parcels in our larger zone just to the 1 parcel. And then we went back and submitted the East Point application, and we had done the map change. Originally, we wanted to do a bigger map change in the train station area, but we had learned that they were only going to look at it development by development basis. A lot of things went on, but the end of it was we even though our attorney at the time, who's still one of our attorneys, Mark Brantz, said what we're doing is absolutely legal. He spoke about incentive housing and bashed it. The housing commissioner asked us to come for a visit because, of course, one of our public relations people was there. And we had this meeting and we were told what we adopted was completely illegal. We had no right to do it, blah, blah, blah. So we kind of threw our hands up and said, well, it's legal according to our attorney. It may not be there for the payments, but let's just use 830G for now and encourage people to use that. At some point, we'll come up with an inclusionary zone and maybe we'll just take incentive housing off the books. So the interesting part of the East Point Saybrook Station development is we've had tours of planners and zoning officers and other people from the housing community go through and do a tour of the development to say this is what an incentive housing development should be, even though we were not recognized by the state. So the Department of Housing asked me to speak last November at their housing conference, and they wanted to talk about this and me to talk about this development. And I said, you know, I'm really in an awkward place here because if I have to get into the details of it, it wasn't recognized. The zoning commission had a really bad experience. So they said, well, why don't we talk about this? So I'm in discussions right now. There's different staff and explaining our story to try to see if we can have the state recognize Saybrook Station as an incentive housing zone. So I'm working on that, giving them the history. And in the meantime, what's happened is that, and I can't get into it too much, you have a new application coming that is actually in the original larger zone part or area that we had to reduce. And there's an application coming in for that area for another incentive housing zone. There'll be a text amendment associated with it. And so the thought, it's all kind of falling into place there. That type of a development, incentive housing, is the reason in this new, the PA 25-1, in there, or 8002, whatever you want to call whoever calls it what number, it has certain things to have design regulations and so forth. Well, we have a lot of that on the books because we did it back in 2009 for incentive housing. So that's another thing that's kind of going along at the same time, but we really need the state to recognize that. So I think, you know, when it comes to, we've got a lot of balls in the air right now, but I think we can easily establish these housing growth zones, or at least, you know, to start using a lot of the work that we have now. So that's kind of where we are. So Matt Willis and I, we've been kind of scrambling to keep up on this, and I'll go from there. So just to fill you in, meeting wise, your next meeting, you've got kind of a doozy again. You've got 91, you've got the cheat sheet. Whispering Winds, Canford, 91 Sheffield, those two. So, and annual outdoor seating renewals. The 20th, you're going to have whatever is continued. We've also received the Max's Place application. And that night is also that ferry landing. So for ferry landing, because Mark's recused, they're going to come initially in the beginning, and then Mark will, once we tell him that the item's over, he'll come back into the building or come to the building. So, and anything else that's continued from the previous meeting. The following meeting, May 5th, we've got Fenwick ice cream. You don't have to get into the details, just say we got a lot coming out. This incentive housing text, you have a 16-unit affordable housing building complex, and anything else that is continued. May 11th is that coastal site plan review, which gives you continuing ed. So it doesn't, I kind of cringe to answer the phone because it seems like, hey, I got a new application. So I'm hoping, I'm hoping we can get through a lot of it, but this really, for our newer members, this really isn't normal. No. So I just thought I kind of fill you in on that. Other things are still going on, sign enforcement. Karen, has been going through kind of writing friendly letters. I'm gonna have an update for you on that. And some of those friendly letters are gonna become cease and desist letters, but I'll get that to you. I didn't have it for tonight. And then some other thing is hopefully within the next, by June, we're gonna have another meeting on the B1 Department of Housing grant, or where we are with that. For more input, if you haven't seen it yet on our website, and I know Sarah distributed, is the parking study, which is related to housing. We're also working on we're gonna have some kind of an update. I think it might be in June now. It was scheduled for earlier on the Chalker Beach, the $500,000 resiliency study that's going on over there. So I didn't really think this was all gonna happen at once, but surprise, it did. So.
And it's a positive, it's all positive.
It's
just
a
means we gotta
positive,
do our
Yeah, no,
job, right?
It is, it's just all happening at once.
Yeah.
It's happening at once.
We'll get through it.
And the one thing is, everyone is so busy, it's hard. I feel like I'm a mom with like 50 kids. Where's your report? The hearing's Monday. Here's another letter. Where's your report? So, and then the other thing that is, a challenge, you have a matter that's continued tonight for comments. They go back, they get our comments, they have 2 weeks to flip this stuff over, and sometimes it just doesn't, it's nearly impossible, to do it. Because everyone's busy. It's engineers, surveyors. I met today with the Kate, many of you went to that. The Kate's gonna be pushing along with their applications. And I mean, the more I talk, the more my head spins, because the more things I think of that are headed our way, but it's all good.
It's all good. I mean, depending on what happens on referendum tomorrow night.
Doc and Don could be another one.
knows?
So anyway, if you have any questions, just even, reach out. Brenda and I are meeting tomorrow on some of this housing stuff as her role on the regional planning agency, meetings for the housing, but feel free.
Any questions or? No. Entertain motion to adjourn. Second by our friendly Mr. Kennedy. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same, thank you very much.